Hey friends, I am Mr. Tony. I'm a pre-K through 8th grade art teacher, and today I'm going to share with you a lesson I do on the value scale. Values are the lights and darks in every picture, and today I'm going to show you how to add those with some drawing techniques. The only materials you need is a white piece of paper or a sketchbook, black felt tip pen, 12-inch ruler, and a pencil. Doesn't even have to be a fancy pencil. This is just a regular number 2 pencil you use every day in school. Today we're going to work on our values. And values is the difference between light and dark in a picture. So your lightest value is white, your darkest value is black, and we're going to work with pencils and a ruler, and we're going to do some exercises that show you how to make a value scale and practice the different techniques in creating value in a piece of art, especially when drawing. Painting is a little different because you can mix different hues and tints to change the value, but for this exercise, it's a drawing exercise. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to make a 5-inch rectangular grid. So I'm going to take my ruler. Remember, the ruler starts at the end, not here. It starts at the end of the ruler and it'll go to 5 because we're doing 5 inches. So holding it down with my own hand, keep it from moving, and I'm just going to lightly go down, stop at the 5. Now, because this ruler is 1 inch, we're going to do 5 inches by 1 inch. I don't have to move my ruler if I don't want to. I'm going to keep it still if I can. Trace over here. I believe in doing things simpler if possible, and that's what I'm trying to do here. And then I'm going to trace from here down to the 5. And then when I pick it up, I have part of the rectangle, and then use my ruler here to kind of finish off the end. Now it's one inch by 5 inch rectangle. We're going to break it up into 5 inch segments. So I'm going to put my ruler back down, and I'm going to put a little dash at 1, at 2, at 3, and at 4. 5 is already here. Okay. Now I'm going to go up a little bit and do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the reason I do that is so that way I can make sure I get a perfectly straight vertical line. Okay. If I didn't do that, my line might end up going like this. And you want to keep it straight as possible. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go over here. We're going to do the same thing. Zip it on down. Zip it on down. Zip it on down. All right, so this is an exercise. This is not going to be a final piece of art. This isn't anything we're going to put in an art show or put in our portfolio. This is just practice, okay? Sometimes when I'm in a meeting or something and I'm stuck for a while and I have my sketchbook, I'll just practice doing value scales, usually on a smaller scale, but I'll still practice doing it, okay? So the first thing I'm gonna do is label my little chart here, put value scale. All right, now underneath it, let's write the word lightest. And darkest. All right, your lightest block is already done. Your next one is going to be the lightest shade of gray you can, then a little bit darker, then a little bit darker, and this one's going to be your darkest. Now, when we practice, let's practice the way we would want to draw with our best craftsmanship. If I rush through it real quick, it's not going to look as good, and I wouldn't want my final drawing, if I was doing a drawing, to look kind of rushed either. So try to get that smooth, light gradient, barely touched down. Right, notice I'm using the side of my pencil. If you use this part of your pencil, it's going to get real pointy and start cutting into the lines. Try to keep it as smooth as you can. Notice it takes time. Not something you can rush right through real quick. Parts of the video I'm going to speed up just so you don't have to watch me shade the whole entire thing, but just know it'll take some time. All right, and Notice I'm trying to stay inside of my rectangle. Nice, smooth gradient. All right, almost there. I want to clean this up just a little bit. Don't go over the same spot too much because it'll get darker than the other spots. We want to try to keep it as evenly shaded as I can. Notice how this spot here is just a little bit darker. I'm not thrilled about that, but it's not a big deal. All right, I'm gonna go and clean up some of these marks. And then here, I'm gonna do the same thing, except this time, I wanna go a little bit darker. And you can go darker in a couple ways. The best way is to go over it multiple times. So you're not digging down into the paper. You dig down into the paper, you're making indentions in the paper. And then you kind of makes it hard to clean up and erase. Keep the paper nice and smooth. All right, so right now it's kind of the same, maybe just a little bit darker, but I'm gonna go back over it once I fill it all in. Good, good, good. All right, now I want this to be a little bit darker. This is a little bit, but I want to be just a little bit more darker. So I'm gonna go over it one more time, just a little bit, just kind of make it just a hair darker. Now, if you get dark too quick, when you get down here, what are you gonna do? If this is your darkest square, then what is that one gonna be? It can't be anything else. So we wanna make sure we don't go too dark too quick. All right, then this one, we're gonna go in and do the same step. Once again, notice I'm using the side of my pencil. Now the benefit of using values in your drawings is that it helps create the illusion of depth and form. If you don't add value to your drawings, they're just line drawings. Sometimes line drawings can stand on their own, but most of the time you want to add some value to kind of create some depth, some texture, make something look like it's round, give it a little form. Cartoons even have a lot of value in them, a lot of people don't realize. All right, we're going to keep using that side of the pencil, don't get lazy. I almost got lazy for a second and tilted it up and messed up my little value scale. Notice I'm staying inside the lines. Stay inside the lines. If you go a little bit outside, you can use your eraser just to do little touch-ups. But notice I'm not erasing it much. I'm really just trying to keep it nice and neat and simple. The eraser is actually a drawing tool. A lot of people don't realize that. They think it's to erase mistakes. When we get into doing some values, I'll show you how we use it to really bring out form. All right, so I got my lightest shade, a little darker, even a little darker. This is gonna be my darkest. So the mistake I see a lot of students do is they come in here and they just start digging down real hard and pushing down real hard with their pencil. Don't do that. Do it the same way. Use the side of your pencil lead. All right, a lot of students too like to use mechanical pencils, and I actually love using mechanical pencils to draw with. But for shading like this, it's not ideal because you're gonna get those pencil lines dug into your paper. For this, you want a traditional pencil. And I'm just using a number 2 pencil. There are other pencils out there that have different lead darknesses and softnesses, and we can talk about that another day. But for today, we're gonna learn how to do it with one pencil and make it as dark as possible. Notice I'm trying to keep it neat and clean. Keep it inside of that square. All right, now I'm just gonna go over it again. And it takes a little bit of time. It's not something we can do real fast. Notice I'm not all going the same direction. If you go the same direction, you start seeing those pencil strokes. I want it all to kind of blend in. So I can do little circle motions. I can go diagonally. the other diagonally. And that's about as dark as I'm going to get it without digging into the paper, which I do not want to do. So we have a very simple value scale using shading technique with a number 2 pencil. Okay? So I'm going to pause for a second and I'm going to get set up to show you a different kind of value scale. All right, so we're going to do another value scale. This one is doing a traditional kind of shading technique. We're going to do another value scale right beside it, and I'm going to show you about hatching. So let's start by drawing our value scale. I'm going to put it right beside it because there's enough room that I can squeeze in here. If you can't, you can put it underneath it. It's okay. I'm going to do the same technique. I'm going to go a little faster because I've done this one time, but it's 1 inch tall, 5 inches wide. Hold that ruler down so it doesn't move on you. And then we're going to use, remember, you have a ruler, use it. If you're drawing a straight line, use a straight edge. You don't have to eyeball it. You might think you can draw a straight line. Most people can't. Use the tools you have available. All right, so we're going to take our ruler, 5 inch blocks, hash mark, hash mark, hash mark, hash mark. Slide up, do the same thing here. Then we're going to connect those lines. Remember, we do them on both sides, top and the bottom, to make sure our lines stay vertical. So even right now, my paper's a little bit askew because I'm trying to tilt my paper to how I can reach it naturally. So it's looking crooked for you on camera, but it's the way I can easily draw these straight lines. There we go. So now it's straight. All right, so let's label it again. Lightest, darkest. Now sometimes you might see a value scale that an artist has created, or you might see a poster one and it goes darkest to lightest. That's okay too. It's the same concept. You just start dark and you lighten up as you go. All right, so hatching is basically using lines to create a sense of value. All right, our lightest square is already done. So our next one is we're just going to make hatching. Notice I space them apart as evenly as possible. I chose to do diagonal lines, but you could do them vertical, you could do them horizontal, or you can even do them the other way. But I'm just going to make one block of diagonal lines, trying to keep them as evenly spaced apart as possible. For this, I don't recommend using your ruler. I want you to learn how to do this without using a ruler. All right, there's our first one. And so from a distance, it kind of looks like it's shaded a little bit. Up close, you can definitely see the lines. But if you back up from it, you'll be able to see it like a light shade. So the next one is we're going to do hash marks, but they're a little bit closer. You see when they're a little closer, they look a little bit darker. Yep, see I missed the line there, that's okay. Remember, drawing is done by humans. Humans make errors. It's not always perfect. You see it's not perfect. So you see it a little lighter, a little darker. And so this one's going to be even closer together, if you can imagine that, where you see just a little bit of the paper showing through. This technique is really good if you're using an ink pen, like a felt tip pen or a ballpoint pen, and you're drawing with that and you want to create some sense of value. And notice I'm not pressing down any harder. And this, for this assignment, part of the assignment too, you're using the tip of your pencil. You're not trying to use the side like we do over here. Over here we use the side, here we're using more of the tip. This is where you can actually use your mechanical pencil, probably get a better result. And it's okay if they touch a little bit, as long as they're going the same direction. All right, so now you can see it's light, darker, darker, darker. darkest. So this one is almost going to be all the way shaded in, but not shaded in because we're doing hatching. And this one you might have to go over. Notice I'm also trying to stay inside the box. Don't get in a rush. I know it's tedious. Take your time. Fill in those spaces. See, if you do like I did and you get done and you say, oh, well, they look kind of close together, then you go back and you make another set of lines. This is also where I can fix that little white spot that was there. Yes, it's tedious. Yes, it takes time. But like anything in life, the more you practice at it, the easier it gets. And actually it becomes a fun little hobby just to doodle and do value skills. Instead of picking up your phone or tablet and playing around your tablet, pick up a sketchbook and sketch. Just draw a little bit. All right, and that's all in the same direction. All right, so now we got our lightest, a little darker, a little darker, a little darker, a little darker, boom. All right, and this was called hatching. Right? All right, next value scale we're going to make is going to be called cross hatching. The same thing. Let's take our ruler. Let's make another value scale. Remember, 5 inches, 1 inch is tall, 5 inches. Turn our ruler. Remember, this is just an exercise. You don't have to have it perfect. So the next one, because this is called cross hatching, so it's kind of like hatching. So the first one is going to go this way. Notice it all goes the same direction. It's okay if you go vertical. It's okay if you go horizontal. Just your line has to go all the same direction on the first one. All right, so that's the first one. Notice they're spaced apart. You can see the white showing between them. So that's the lightest one. The second one, this is cross hatching. This is where the cross part comes in. All right, if you ever look at a screen in a window or on a screen door, you'll notice how there's little lines that crisscross with each other. That's pretty much what cross hatching is. So if we have a screen door, a screen in our window, and it's all going this way, you're going to have another set of lines that come the exact opposite direction. Okay, and then the third one, it's the same thing. You're going to do the same first two steps. You're going to go this one here. And I'm starting to go a little faster than I probably should, so let me slow down. As an artist, sometimes if you catch yourself going too fast, just take a break. Pause, stretch your legs, get up for a minute, and then come back to it where you can slow down. To me, that's the hardest thing about being an artist, is sitting in the same seat for hours. So a lot of times I'll stand up when I draw, I'll walk or take breaks. All right, so notice we got one direction, two directions, two directions. Now we gotta go a third direction. So this is where now we can go horizontal. So it gives the illusion that's a little bit darker. Okay, so now you can kind of see it's lighter, darker, darker, darker. Darkest is the same step. So this one's going to take a little longer because now we're going to shade 4 different directions. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. All right, Now we're going to go this way. So what happens is every time the line is drawn, it takes up more space and less white paper can show through from the background. So that's what makes it look like it's getting darker and darker. So now we're doing our horizontal. All right, now we're going to go vertical. Now the fun part about this is if we want to do a 6th block, 7th block, 8th block, we can still get darker and darker just by making the lines go different directions. So instead of diagonal this way, maybe it's diagonal that way. And each time you do it, it will get darker and darker and darker. So this one is my favorite way of doing shading or adding value. This one's traditional shading. This one is hatching. This one is cross hatching. The next one I'm going to show you is stippling. And for stippling, you need to get a black felt tip pen. All right, I went and found my felt tip marker. It even says felt tip on there. These are just an Amazon brand, nothing fancy about them, but you want a fine tip for stippling. Fine tip. So notice this is brand new, never been used. All right, so this is what we're going to use for stippling. Stippling is the process of using dots to create a value scale or to add value. So the first thing I need to do is to make another rectangular value scale. And in. All right, so this is all going to be done with the felt tip pen from here forward. Lightest, darkest. Lightest is already done. Can't get any lighter than white. So the next one, I'm going to take my lid off. I always put the lid on the back so I don't lose the lid. And we're going to make dots. About as evenly spaced apart as you can. Yes, it is tedious. Yes, it takes time. But the end result is amazing. As with most things, the more you practice, the better you get at it. So we're just going to dot, dot, dot. And for this value scale, I definitely will fast forward some parts of the video because otherwise you'll spend an hour or two just watching me make dots. And that's not fun for either one of us. Dot, dot, dot. Also, what you don't want to do is ruin your pen. So don't take your brand new felt tip pen and just start jabbing down like that because you're getting impatient, because then you flatten out the tip. Keep your felt tip pen sharp just by gently dabbing. Felt tip pens are nice because you don't have to press hard at all to get them to work. Sometimes with a ballpoint pen, you have to kind of press to get the little ball inside to work. All right, these you just barely tap the paper and they show up. Okay. So now we have lightest, a little bit darker. So for this one, we're doing the same thing, but we're just getting the dots a little bit closer. Try not to let your dots touch, because when they touch, they create like a little, see right here, these little couple right here touched, they create like a little black blob, and we don't want a black blob just yet. If they do, they do, but try not to let them touch. So now I'll be quiet and just keep dotting. Oh, see right there, I got too fast and I made a line. Don't do what I did. Try not to. If you do, it's not a big deal. We're not crumpling it up and starting over. But try to go slow. I got impatient and tried to go fast. And when I did, I made a line instead of a dot. Good thing is nobody will know it's there unless you point it out to them. Most people won't even notice that. So notice my dots are pretty random. I'm not going dot, 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 one row, dot, 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 next row. They're kind of randomly placed. I'm trying to keep them as evenly spaced apart as possible, but not exactly. All right, so step back, look at it. It's light, a little darker, but I want to make it just a hair darker than what I have it. So I'm just going to put a few more dots in here. Just find little open spots and place a little dot. Dot, 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 dot. All right, there we go. So now we got light, darker, darker. So this one's the same way. Notice it takes time. You're just gonna have to go in and dot. And then for the next activity after this, we're gonna do some exercises where I show you how to use these 4 different techniques to create value in your drawings. The cool thing is your marker, your felt tip pen, you can use your felt tip pen to do hatching and cross hatching too. Not so much the shading, because that's more of a graphite thing, or even pastels or color pencils. But you can use your felt tip pen for cross hatching and hatching too. All right, dot, dot, dot. Remember, this is where I get kind of like, oh boy, am I done yet? So don't get impatient and start making blobs instead of dots. I've even had students where they get tired of it and they'll start making their dots bigger. That's not gonna work. Don't do that. All right, so looking at it, these two look the same, don't they? So let's go in and put some more dots in here. The more dots you add, the darker it looks. And this is the point where your dots can actually start touching each other. So you notice when they start touching each other, they start looking darker. Here we wanted them spaced apart. Now we're starting to get to the point where we want dots to kind of bump into each other. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right, so you already see how that's darker here, right? We'll keep going all the way up. All right, filling it in. All right, so now we got light, darker, darker, definitely darker, right? Now, as you can imagine, this one here is going to take a bunch of dots. Don't get impatient. Still pace yourself. Take your time. These dots, you definitely want to touch each other. That way, very little white paper can show through. Dot, dot, dot. Notice I'm put a bunch of dots already and it's barely even covering part of the square. Patience is definitely a virtue in everything you do. I like making and building things by my hands. It's part of the reason why I like being an artist, because I get to create with my hands. But when you do things by hand, they take time. There is no fast way to do things. You become more efficient, and that makes it a little faster, but ultimately the process is still the same. You still got to go through each step, take your time. When artists and people who make stuff try to rush their work, it never comes out as good as if they just slowed down. That's why a lot of times in my class I have open deadlines, because not every student works at the same pace. And what I mean by an open deadline is, if I give you an assignment and it's due at the end of the week, you can still continue to work on it after that week, but I just can't enter a grade until you turn it in. And ultimately it has to be due before the end of the quarter so I can put the grade in the system. Now the rest of the class doesn't wait for you to finish that project. We go to the next one and you're responsible for that project too. But it just allows you to work on it whenever you have a free moment here or there, and eventually you'll finish it and turn it in and get a good grade instead of rushing through it and being sloppy. So that's what I mean by flexible deadlines. Now that is with my middle school group. My middle school group is the only group that actually give a grade for. The elementary kids get basically a participation grade. And they came to art, they had fun, they did the assignment, and then I see them again in a couple weeks. Whereas my middle schoolers I get to see every day. And because they get to see them every day, they can work on stuff like this that takes time. If they don't finish it, they put it away, and then they come back and work on it the next day. I also don't give a lot of homework for that reason too. Nobody wants to be stuck at home drawing when they have math work they got to turn in for a grade, or a test they got to study for in language arts, or they have a paper they have to write for social studies or whatever. I want art to be fun. We learn, but it's fun, not a task that becomes a burden. I like to make it an outlet for students, so when they come to art they have a way to be creative, way to release all the stresses they have going on in life and in school, and just focus on their work. Almost finished with this one. I might have to go put another range of dots because I see it's a little bit lighter than I want it to be. Dot, dot, dot. Now this lesson is geared mostly to my older students. So definitely middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th. 4th and 5th graders can do this as well. 3rd graders can do some parts of it, but it starts to become a little bit too much for a 3rd grader. They can definitely do the value scale with the shading, but these 3 steps gets to be a little bit much. So, but if you're a 3rd grader who likes to draw and you think you can handle it, don't let it stop you. Give it a try. If you're a kindergartner or a 1st grader or a 2nd grader and you want to give it a try, go for it. All right. So I could keep going and keep going and keep going, and the more dots I add, the darker it gets. All right, so now we have lightest all the way to the darkest, and this one is called stippling.